Hello, my name is Jessica Kazart. I am in the wind band at Shelbyville High School. I'm a part of a project our band program is doing that was partially funded by an Indiana Arts Commission grant entitled Arts in Education. The music being used as part of this project was composed by students and performed and recorded by the Shelbyville High School Wind Band. We want this community to know how grateful we are to those who have served in the military. This is our way of giving back through the arts and to honor those who make our community what it is today. We realize this project is just the tip of the iceberg, as there are many others who are equally deserving of this recognition as those we will meet tonight. We hope you will join us in honoring all who have served, regardless of whether they are included in the project or not. I'd like to introduce someone in our community who is one of our unsung heroes. This is Mr. Bob Schlick. Welcome to the Strand Theater, Mr. Schlick. You were selected to be a part of this project because of your service in the armed forces and your role as a member of our community who may not receive a lot of notoriety or recognition for your service. A big part of this project is to learn about our past so we can understand more about ourselves. It also helps us understand what makes our community special. So can you start off with just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Bob Schlick, and I'm 73 years old. I'm semi-retired heating and air conditioning technician. I came here to Shelbyville in 1993. I was born and raised in upstate New York, and I lived there for a number of years. And then I moved out to the state of Maine, lived and worked there on the coast of Maine in the heating and air conditioning business for a good number of years. And then I came out here to Shelbyville in 1993. I'm very happy here. The people are good, and it's a nice environment, and I'm happy with the projects that I'm involved with.
What exactly are you involved with?
Well, I'm on the board of directors of the Volunteers of the Strand Theater, and we've been heavily involved in the restoration and revitalization of this grand old movie house here in Shelbyville. And it's through my efforts that we've got the antique mechanical equipment running. Air conditioning that should have been in the junk pile years ago is here and operating. Same for the heat. Heat dates back to 1955, and we got it running and operating in a safe and reliable manner. So it can be done if you want to work at it and you know how to work at it, which thankfully I do. So that's kind of what I do around here. I help keep the place going. There's a lot of us involved in that project, and each one of us has a special niche and thing that we do, and that's just one of the things I do.
What other hobbies and interests do you have?
Well, I like camping. You know, I'm involved in collecting and operating toy trains, like antique toy trains, like Lionel, American Flyer, pre-war and immediate post-war, World War II. We're talking about equipment. But my original train set was, which I have. 1939, and I got it in 1940 when I was 6 years old. So I still have that train set.
Wow.
And it operates, and it goes every year around the Christmas tree. I just sit back and relax on my deck and drink a beer once in a while too, and that's one of the things that I enjoy.
You said you were born in New York. How
Yes.
did you get to Shelbyville?
Well, that's kind of a long story, and it's kind of an interesting story, I guess. But I was born in the small town of Newfield, New York, which is just outside of Ithaca. My childhood was all spent there, and a major portion of my adult life was spent there because it was in 1986 that I moved out to Maine. Unfortunately, things didn't work well in Maine. The company I was with went bankrupt and was bought out by another company. I got, after the divorce, I got in contact with a childhood sweetheart who happened to be out here in Shelbyville, and now that's the rest of the story.
Well, what are some of your most special memories of the community?
It's totally different than cities in the Northeast or even small towns in the Northeast. The people are totally different out here. They're much more outward and going and easygoing and friendly. And I mean, when I drive down the street, people will wave to me. You see them wave at you. They never do that in the Northeast. They turn and look the other way. And you know, it just impressed me that of the way people were out here, and I like that because I know one thing here in Shelbyville, I've never been asked where I was born. That's the first question they ask you up in Maine. Where were you born? And if you weren't born in Maine, you don't belong there.
Wow. What is it about the community that makes you most proud to be from here?
Well, I'm proud of this theater project. I'm very proud of that, and I've been so happy to be a part of that. And it's just been a big boost for my ego to be. And I've met so many wonderful people as a result of being involved in this project.
With what branch of the military did you serve?
Well, I served in the New York Army National Guard, and I went in under a special program. It was the Reserve Forces Act of 1955. The nearest National Guard was over in Cortland, New York. And, so in November of 1957, I joined up with the Guard. In November of 1957, I went off to Fort Dix for 6 months of active duty. The National Guard unit we were in was an armored tank, an armored cavalry division, and we worked with tanks. And I took basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, and that's where everybody in the Northeast went to Fort Dix, New Jersey. That was the spot. So, and then after that, for my advanced training, I was transferred out here to Fort Knox. So I spent 4 months here at Fort Knox, and then I was sent back to my home unit. So, but that was extensive training in tanks and tank artillery and all that sort of thing. And then our company they realigned things up there in the National Guard, and they took our tanks away from us and gave us personnel carriers and made us armored infantry. And for the about the last 5 years that I was in the Guard, we were armored infantry. So I learned how to play with personnel carriers too.
Can you describe what life was like in your community at the time you entered the service?
Well, I know the thing that set us off most was right after I went into basic training, Russia launched Sputnik. And that had everybody nervous. And of course, that was the beginning of our space satellite age.
Right.
And we went on 24-hour alert. They didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, we didn't have time to ourselves for about two months there. And then, of course, another things that was going on was some of the civil rights issues and movements and stuff like that was going on. And those were the big things that I remember. And
what did people do for fun?
well, one of the things we did was went to the drive-in, movies. Yeah.
Can you describe how your life changed when you got to boot camp or training?
Oh yeah, that was a whole different ball game from what I was used to, because you know, back home my mother I lived at home yet at that time. Mother did my laundry. Mother got my breakfast, got my lunch, got my supper. All that kind of stuff, you know. And that all changed real dramatically when you walked into boot camp. And you had a drill sergeant out there that had one of the foulest mouths of anybody I ever heard of. And I mean, he came up with swear words that I had never heard of and haven't since. But I remember how you were no longer a human being, it seemed. You were just a mule that they were driving from one point to another for the first few weeks. I learned early on, I said, well, I said, we got to go through this. And I said, you might just, I said, if you fight it, you're going to be miserable. And I said, you might just as well learn to go with it and accept it and make the best of it and learn how to work the system. After I got that attitude, you know, the problems of basic training basically went away, because I just said, I'm going to make the best of this. You know, this is what I got to do, and we're going to do it. And that's kind of been my philosophy throughout life. That was one of the things it taught me. You know, it's just, you know, yeah, if you got a bad situation, you do what you can to change it. But if you can't change it, you got to work with it and go with it. And you know, eventually it's going to get better. You can either be happy or you can be miserable. I chose to be happy. So whatever it was, well, we did it. That's the way it was. And that's the lesson that I've kept pretty much through life. I was lucky. I served peacetime, so I never had to go to do active duty like these kids do nowadays in the National Guard. And in a way, I kind of missed a lot of action too, you know, and I feel kind of slighted because I didn't get a chance to go on active duty. You know, it's a mixed, it's a mixed feeling, and because I'm sure that if I was of age today, I'd probably sign up and go. Yeah, I would. And that's just the way I am.
Yeah. Mr. Schlick, our community thanks you.
Well, I'm glad to be a part of the community, and it's been a pleasure being interviewed by you. I've enjoyed talking with you.
You too.
Very good.